Good morning. This is your introduction to algebra for Monday, March the 30th. And today we're not going to be using our book. Right now we're just simply going to do some problems on the board together. And it would behoove you to make sure that you do these problems with me. This is to prepare you for your test that you have coming up. Let's look at the problem I have written on the board. -3 times -4 plus -3 times -5 minus a -3. This is a problem, the exact problem that was on a recent quiz, and more than half of you missed it, okay? You missed it, I believe, because it was a silly mistake. So let's walk through it. When you have a 3 times 4 is 12, since they're both negative, it is a positive 12, okay? Then we're gonna add to that -3 times -5, which is positive 15. Then we're going to subtract a -3. We can't subtract a negative number, so we're going to change that to an addition sign, and we're going to change that to a positive 3. Now we're going to say 12 plus 15 is 27, and 27 plus 3 is 30. I had several of you that came up with where you multiplied this and got a 45, then added your 12. Others of you had a -30. Several of you had 27 minus the -3, and you came up with a -24. Be very careful that you watch your signs, okay? Next, listen, I'm gonna pull up this off of the online classes that you've been taking. Listen to this problem and write it down. The sum of 3 times a number and 7 is -20. 3 times a number and 7 is -20. Well, the first thing I hear is sum. That tells me that I'm adding. What am I adding? Well, 3 times a number. I'm going to add 3 times a number, so 3n is times. So that's 3 times a number. And I'm going to add to that 7, because it says the 3 times a number and 7. Then I have another key word. The word is. Is in math means equals -20. Okay? And to solve this, it's a two-step equation. We need to get rid of the constant. So we're going to say, it says plus 7, so we're going to minus 7. And whatever we do on the left, we must do on the right. So we have here, this is going to cancel, leaving us 3n equals -20 minus 7 is -27. Now what do we do? Get rid of this 3. Divide both sides by 3. This is going to cancel, leaving me n. -27 divided by 3 is 9. Is it positive or negative? It is negative, because one is negative and one is positive. My sign is negative, okay? Let's look at another one that you had a little trouble with. Sorry, here it's going to take me a second to pull it up. Here we go. After trotting down a trail for 16 miles in 2 hours, the horse and the rider tripled their speed by galloping for the next 72 miles. How many hours did the horse and the rider gallop? Okay, so let's think this through. They went trotting down a trail for 16 miles in 2 hours. That's the first thing we know, okay? They went 16 miles in 2 hours. How fast were they going? They were going 8 miles per hour. Then it says that the horse and the rider tripled their speed. Okay, so if we triple this speed, we're going to say 8 times 3 is 24. So they'd be going 24 miles per hour. By the way, that's impossible on a horse. Okay, 24 miles for any long distance. All right, 24 miles an hour. The question is, if they galloped at that speed for 72 hours, how long were they galloping? Well, we know that we're going to have 24 miles in 1 hour, but how many times can you take 24 into 72? Okay, 24 goes into 72 how many times? Well, if we go 3 times, 3 times 4 is, so 3 up there, 3 times 4 is 12. Carry our 1, 3 times 2 plus 1 is 72. So they would have galloped for 3 hours. Okay, they would have galloped for 3 hours. Galloping it for 3 hours is possible, not probable. On a horse, definitely not at that speed. Okay, let's look at the next thing that we said. I want you to write this algebraic phrase. I came up with a lot of different answers. I'm looking at this. Out of all of those that responded, 0 of you got it right. I'm gonna change that. 2 of you are gonna get it right. I've got to go back and check your grades. 2 of you are gonna get it right. Several of you though came up with the same answer. You know, it's a wrong answer, but it's because of where you've put your emphasis, okay? So here's what I want you to do. Write this problem as I say it, okay? Think about what I'm saying. You're gonna write an algebraic sentence or an algebraic expression. Twice the sum of 4 times the opposite of a number and 7. Now wait a minute. There were lots of twices and sums and opposites in there. So let's think this through. We're gonna say twice the sum, okay? So we're gonna say twice the sum of something, okay? So I need to find out what that sum is, then multiply it by 2. Well, what are you gonna multiply? Okay, the sum is 4 times the opposite of a number, okay? So we're gonna say 4 times the opposite of n. Now I can write that as a negative 4n, okay? That's 4 times the opposite of this. Now, because it doesn't tell me that it's a negative number, okay? And we're gonna add to that, because it says the sum of 4 times the opposite of a number and 7. So we're gonna add 7 to that, okay? Now you may have written it this way, 4, and then you may have put negative n plus 7. That would also be correct, okay? Because we gotta have the opposite of this number, okay? So this is the one that Mrs. Turner would prefer that you used, okay? Now, I'm not asking you to solve it, just write it today. Another one that I needed you to review with me is write the algebraic phrase to describe this. If you have, I want you to use n as your letter. The product of 3 and a number is decreased by 5. Product means to what, guys? Means to multiply. So the product of 3 and some number, or 3n, and that is decreased by 5. Decreased by 5. 3n minus 5. Okay? The next description I gave you, I said if x is less than 0, if x is less than 0, which graphing statement was correct? Now, excuse me, you cannot just say read them and know. You're gonna have to think them through. There's some clue words on these, okay? The best thing for you to do is to actually take your paper out and to graph it, okay? So if this is 0, 1, 2, 3, okay? Now, x is less than 0. So here's my 0. It's less than. Am I going to fill it in or am I going to circle it? I'm going to circle it because it's not equal. And x is less than. So what I needed to do was to graph it and then go to my test and say, look for the one that said, find your number marker, which means the 0, circle the 0 number marker, and draw the arrow to the left. That is what I was looking for. Several of you had some trouble with that, okay? a couple of you, well, half of you, 45% of you to be exact, missed this problem, okay? So the problem was this. Evaluate M, N. That means to what? Multiply. Plus M, Z. If M equals, make sure I'm looking at the right one. M equals 2, N equals 3, and Z equals 5. All you had to do was write the problem, substitute your problem, and then solve. M equals 2 in both places. N equals 3, Z equals 5. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 2 times 5 is 10. My answer was 16. Okay? Now, I did not go over a ton of reviews today. I am going to do this again in a couple of days. We're getting ready to take a test. I will make sure that I have reviewed every type of question on the test. Here's my question. Some of you need to be honest with yourself. Make sure you're doing your work. You're not cheating with someone else. If someone else is doing it with you or for you, that's cheating, guys. Okay? And you're gonna have a very hard time when you come back and I hand you an exam and I'm not gonna review it. If you know, it's amazing that I have one of you that you struggle in this class and you got a 95% on the test. Well, I'm gonna talk to your parent because I wanna make sure that you're doing it and you're doing it without a calculator. Be honest. I cannot help you if you're not being honest, okay? Most of you are doing extremely well. Your grades, I can tell, are your work. By the way, I do check the answers to see if you all missed the same one, so the computer generates that for me. So be honest. I'm proud of you. Most of you are doing very well. You're keeping up on your work, and you're doing extremely well. I'm gonna have a little contest between the 7th graders and the 8th graders. So I'll be telling you about that in another day or so. I'm working all the little details out to make sure that I have it so that it's fair, because you all don't have as many students in your class as the 7th grade. So I want to make sure that it's fair. We'll do it on a basis of percentages. Stay faithful. Stay faithful to your Bible reading. Stay faithful to your walk with God. And stay faithful to yourself by being faithful to your academics. Guys, what happens right now shows a lot of maturity. If you watch the videos, if you do what you're supposed to do, you are being a very mature young person. There are children all over this country right now that are very immature, and they're not doing what they're supposed to do. But when you do right, not only do you please the Lord, which is most important, but you're exercising maturity. And it shows that you are ready for high school, that you are ready to take that next step of growth in your life. I'm proud of you. I miss you terribly. I can't wait for us to all be back together. All right? Have a good day, guys.